Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Here I'm going to be walking you through how to get an MCP server node working. So in the previous video we installed the community node, and to access the MCP community node we just go over to add node, and here I'm going to search for MCP. Now if you have the AI agent inside your workflow, you're also going to be shown the MCP tool. But for now, we just want to play around with the MCP node. And here I'm just going to click on List Available Tools. So the way that the MCP client node works is there are a lot of MCP clients and MCP servers. And in order to connect to a specific one, you have one node, but you have many different credentials that you can create for that one node. So let me show you a few of the MCP clients, and then we'll connect to our specific one. The way that you can get to the screen is by searching for MCP servers and just clicking on Model Context Protocol /servers. All right, so here we have a lot of different servers available to us. These are reference servers, and we have official integrations by third parties. So these are created and maintained by the companies that the server corresponds with. And then lastly, we have these community servers, which have been created by other people. Now, as it says, these servers are untested and to be used at your own risk. I think that is true about any of the servers as of now. And, what you should probably do is test all of these servers, play around with them, understand how to use MCP. And, when the security improves on these, then you'll be ready to incorporate them into production applications. So the one that we're going to play around with first is going to be this Airtable one. So I'm going to click on Airtable. And in order to create a credential for this server so that you can access it, what you do is you come over to usage, and inside usage, it will give you the command that is used to install the server. And these are the arguments. If you were installing on a terminal, it would ask you, do you want to install this? And then this is like yes, and then this is the server name, so on and so on. So let me go back over here, and here we're going to create the new credential. Okay, the command was npx. The arguments were yes, space, Airtable MCP server. And then these are the environment variables. So these are the API keys. And again, this is exactly why this is slightly risky, but for playing around, it's no harm for us. So here I'm going to, and by the way, I typed equals. So that is to then allow you the ability to add the actual API key afterwards. Now, in order to get the API key, we have to go over to Airtable. So if you don't have an Airtable account, you can just create one very easily, and they have a very nice free package, so you should be able to follow along very easily. Inside Airtable, just create a new workspace, and then in the workspace, you can create a base. And then inside this base, what I have done is I have created a table. Now, the application for our mini course is essentially to get transcripts from YouTube videos and to paste them in here, to generate summaries using our AI agent, and then to create a knowledge base, so like a Pinecone vector space or like a RAG system based on top of those transcripts, so that if we ever want to ask a question, we can get sort of this YouTube brain going and get good answers, and also get references to where in the video we got that answer from. Personally, right now, I find Alex Hormozi's videos very interesting. So what I've done is I've just popped up a video which was a little bit long. So I would avoid using, something of this length in your example, because your Airtable might fail. Pick something which is like 30 minutes or so. And essentially what you do is you come down to more, and then you say show transcript, and just copy paste this whole thing over to the Airtable. Now, there are better ways of doing this, but I don't want to get bogged down with using Apify or creating your own little Google function that you can access as an API. All of those, if you guys want, I can cover in a different video. But for now, we're just going to do this manually. And I've already done it for 3 of these videos over here. So 2 of these are related to business, and then I switched it a little bit so that we get to test our RAG system to see if it is able to take queries for different types of information. And by the way, the RAG system that we're going to be using is going to be Graphlet. So instead of having to set up a Pinecone, we're just going to in the later videos set up Graphlet, which is going to sort of abstract away the creation of the RAG system. Okay, with that, let's go over and grab the API key. I'm going to go over to Builder Hub. And the way to create the API key is very simple. You just give it the token. So we'll just call it MCP, YouTube. And here I'm going to define some scopes. We should be able to read our records. We should be able to write to our records. We should also get any schema information. So schema information is like table names, column names, all that stuff. And then we should also be able to write them. Let's give it access to our knowledge base and hit create token. Okay, so I'm done with that. I'm going to come back over, and inside here, what we had done was we had pasted this field, and then we typed equals, and then now we're going to paste in our API key. All right, so let's see if this actually ended up working. The way to do that is by hitting test step. And let me make sure it was the latest one that I created. Yep, okay. So this one, what we have here is we have the different tools that are available to us. So we have list records, search records, list tables, so on and so on. And the important thing to note here is we have the name of the tool, we have the description of the tool, and then we have the schema. So the schema defines the parameters that the tool expects. And all of this is going to be passed in to the AI agent automatically. The AI agent will essentially execute one of these tools. So it's going to execute list tools first, and then is going to find out which tool it needs to use in order to execute the command that the user has sent. And then it will grab all of those informations and then execute that command. All right, so in order to test this out, whether or not this is actually working, and the reason why we test it out ourselves manually first is so that if we run into any issues later on, we know exactly how to fix them. So here I'm going to go over to execute tool. And the first tool that we would just want to see is list bases. And by the way, the AI agent is going to go through this exact process. So if we want to list out all the records, it is going to first list out all the bases. So I'm going to say list bases. And then we don't actually need anything, so schema is an empty array. All right, so here we have the output. We have the name knowledge base, and then we have the ID. So what's going to happen is, like, when you converse with the AI, you're going to say, all right, I want all the records inside the knowledge base and the KB table. So it's first going to find out what knowledge base means, and it is going to find out the ID. We'll just paste this here. And then once it has the ID, let me just go back and list all the tools again so that we can see the schema for the tables. So once it has the ID, it is going to list all the tables. So here we're going to say execute tool, and then it will say list underscore tables. Now for list tables, we need the base ID and detail level. So here I'm going to say base ID colon, and that's going to be the base ID we copied earlier. And then we need the detail level. So, you might not know what the detail level is. I also didn't know in the first pass because it's not very descriptive. To find out what the schema parameters mean, you can just go back to the page, and then here you can see that each tool is described a little bit better. So if I go down to list tables, you can see detail level is an optional parameter which defines how detailed you want the output to be. So for now, we'll just go with full. All right, so that should take care of that. Let me also just copy paste the schema for getting records. So let me go down here. I think I passed it. Okay, it's actually the first one right here. All right, so let me copy paste this. Actually, let's make sure we retain the base ID. All right, now let's do test step. All right, sweet. So here's our output. It's a little bit confusing because it includes all of the data for the individual fields as well. But what we're interested in is just this ID over here, which is for the KB table. So let me paste that. Okay, so now we have the base ID, we have the table ID, and that fulfills these two requirements. Max records we can set, and then filter by formula. Let's make sure that this is optional so that we don't have to fill it out because I want to see everything. So I'm just going to search for filter, and then here it says optional. Okay, so we'll just leave that out then. We go over here, and I'm going to go over to execute tool, and this should be the list records tool. We have base ID, table ID, should be the ID we just got. We have a max records field. And here I'm just going to say 100 records. All right, so let us do a test of this. Whoops, let's just make sure that this is a number that we're passing in. Okay. All right, sweet. So there is our output. We have our record ID, we have the fields that correspond to it, and then this is obviously printing out everything. And since it was a 30-minute video, it's actually quite a lot of text. If I scroll down here, I think somewhere in the middle it changed the records, so probably won't be able to find it necessarily unless I do Control F, search for the opening brace. Okay, there we go. So we have our next record over here, and then our third record over here. So fantastic. That's exactly how we can utilize the MCP client. And this video was to get it working manually. And then in the next video, we're going to see how we can utilize it with our AI agent. So with that, thank you so much for joining here. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the links in the description to get more resources. If you are a business owner and want to implement AI or automation into your business, you can reach out to us and I'll be happy to chat with you. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.